Hello everyone, this is Mike and this is the HDSDR version 2.76 getting started video. I'm going to be using the RSP1A in this video. Now you might have a previous SDR and you've picked up an RSP1A or an RSP2 Pro, or you have an RSP1 and you want to get started with HDSDR. There's two things you can do. You can download the complete package with the EXTIO DLL drivers directly from SDRplay.com and click on downloads and click on the HDSDR package here, v2.76, and it has all the drivers already there, which are called EXTIO DLLs. If you already have HDSDR installed previously, maybe 2.76 or the version before, just grab the EXTIO plugins here and click on it and point it to your HDSDR installation folder. It needs to be in the root of HDSDR, not any subfolders. If you install it and it winds up in a subfolder of HDSDR, take them out of there and put them straight into the root folder of HDSDR. Let me just show you that real quick. This way it might help you in case you have an issue. As you see here, I have all DLLs for numerous SDRs here in the root folder of HDSDR. Alright, let's launch it and I'm going to show you guys my settings and basically how to use it. Okay, let's mute this, and this is a fresh I actually reset my HDSDR just to go over my settings. So as soon as you start it up, the first thing you're going to see is this screen, and you have multiple options. You have your modes, your tuning frequency, your ello frequency, if you want to record, playback, pause, the EXTIO panel for the SDR that's being used, the RSP1, 1A, 2, 2 Pro. Well, the 2 and the 2 Pro is the same EXTIO, and those settings are here. If you want to enable the noise reduction, noise blanker in the RF domain or in the IF domain here, automatic frequency control, the mute, the automatic gain control. Some of these buttons have multiple states, so if you click them a bunch of times they'll cycle. The notch and the automatic notch. Your volume control is here. If you click the volume control, it should mute it, or you can mute it from right here. And your automatic gain control threshold for the AGC that's being selected here. I usually keep it on medium. Your modes are here. This is your spectrum display. This is where all the action happens. Alright, let's go into options, and then we're going to change a few things to the way I like them. You might not like the way I have it set up, but I'm just going to show you my preferred settings. Alright, first thing I do is I go into visualization. I go into RF display. This is RF, this is AF. Go into the RF display, waterfall timestamp right here, and I disable that. The reason being, it's distracting to me because I'm basically chasing DX shortwave stations and I'm not taking any type of measurements. If I had an RFI issue and I wanted to see when it starts and stops, then I would enable the timestamp, and that's actually very useful. So let's disable that. You would go into options, visualization, RF display, waterfall timestamp, off. Second thing I do in the visualization is I change this profile palette. No, it's not a profile, it's the palette for HDSDR. I change it to spectrum extended. So let's go to color palette, same menu option here, options, visualization, color palette, spectrum extended. Okay, let's see if there's anything else in visualization that I need to change. Okay, nothing there. Calibration setting. You have multiple options for different functions within HDSDR. The S meter, the ello frequency, the DC removal, you'll see that there's going to be a spike in the center, which is right over here. And if you enable the DC removal, that spike should go down. Let's see why we're not seeing a spike. Well, I leave this on IIR high pass auto. to remove the DC spike. The input channel calibration is if you want to change the phase. If you don't want to use a DC removal and you want to try to fine-tune the IQ phase, you can do so here. I usually do not mess with this area here. There's a website from Japan where a gentleman, I don't have his call, but if I find it, I'll add it either in the description or I'll add it in the comments of how he adjusts the phasing here. Okay, that's all set. I want to calibrate the RSP inside of HDSDR. So let's go to WWV. Let's see if we have any time signal on 10. And then we'll get back into the menu. Let me unmute this. And let's give ourselves some separation. Okay, it's rather weak, but we should be able to calibrate off that. I don't know, possibly not, but let's just double check. It's not strong enough. Alright, let's check 15. Okay, that's a little bit better. We're going to go into Options, Calibration Setting. Bring it to LO Frequency Calibration. Change your mode to ECSS. Wait for the phase to settle in green, and then you're going to want to click Calculate. Wait for it to get to about just at 0 degrees. Or as close as you can get it. Bands are really rough right now. If I don't get a lock, I'll bypass this. Here we go. That's good enough. Alright, I click Calculate. It calculated here. And I click OK. Put the mode back to AM. And let's see if we can zoom in if we're right on the carrier at 15. Looks good to me. Alright, let's mute this. Alright, we did the calibration. Miscellaneous options. You can have HDSDR auto start. I usually like to keep the show, time, and UTC. Down here is the date and the time. I like it in UTC. So we're going to enable that, and that's going to change. Second option I like to change in this lower portion is the mouse wheel, how HDSDR is going to tune. And I like to tune within the LO. So at default, as you're tuning, it has a little bit of separation here, and it's changing the LO and the tune frequency. And I can click, and as I use my mouse wheel up or down, these two values change. I prefer to have the mode set to tune. The LO stays, and I'm tuning within the spectrum here. Alright, let's see what else is here. If you're running a rig and you have OmniRig and that's all set up, you can enable it here under Cat to Radio, OmniRig. If you're using a serial app like a CSV user browser list and you need to set up the ports, you can do so here for Cat to HDSDR. This is for serial control to and from HDSDR, and we can go over that in another video. Alright, the modes are up here: AM, ECSS, FM, lower sideband, upper sideband, CW, and DRM. Your LO is here, your tune is here. If you want to store frequencies, you can click on the frequency manager, and you have 5 banks that you can select and add frequencies to those banks. You have other options here. I suggest just explore. I have a bank that I set up here. I believe it's user 3, and I have a majority of my frequencies in here, and I might have another one in 2. Let's see if I have one in 1. Yeah, I have one here also in 1. And as you click, it's gonna tune about. Okay, the separation here. This is your scale, this is your noise floor, and these are your signals. I like to bring this down. You can raise it up or down. It's a right click and you can go up or down. Now before it was like that. My preference, I like to bring it down. I keep going until these lines change to a different scale. So just keep an eye. I just go down a little bit slow, and that's the way I like it. The brightness and the contrast. If you take a look at the spectrum here, you can raise the brightness and change the, I don't know if it's brightness or gain. I believe it's brightness, but I like it at the default, which is here, and I'll just raise the contrast just a bit, and that's good. This is your scale and your base, so you can change the scaling here, and the base is here. I usually like to keep this at 0 showing. Yeah, it's showing 0 here at the top, and bringing this down just like that. That's the way I like it. You have your resolution bandwidth here. This is strictly visual, how detailed this spectrum is going to look. The higher the number, the less detail. The lower the number, the more detail. So has no effect on the signal. This is strictly visual. If your processor can't handle high bandwidths, raise the number of the resolution bandwidth. I usually keep it at about 15.3. The FFT here, 2 is fine for me. Now, option here, the averaging. Averaging is enabled by default. I had a very good friend of mine tell me, disable averaging, and I was like, I don't want to disable averaging. I don't like the way it looks. I ran it for a week with the averaging disabled, and he explained to me, he goes, you'll be able to see the weak signals without issue, and I didn't believe him. So I disabled it and I ran it for a week, and I was blown away. So that's the way I run it from now on, you know, in HDSDR and SDR Uno. So we'll disable the averaging, and you're going to see that the waterfall is going to change a little bit, but it should help bring out those weak signals. And let's see if we can find one. And let's enable the averaging. You'll see that the display darkens up a little bit, but when you disable it, it's a little bit more uniformed. That's the way I like to keep it. This is your zoom function. You can zoom in and zoom out. And this is your waterfall speed. For a faster refresh rate, click and drag this to the right. For a slower refresh rate, click and drag this to the left. Now in the audio domain, same thing. These are mirrored options. Your brightness, your contrast, your base, your scaling, and your resolution bandwidth, and the FFT, and if you want to enable averaging. In the audio domain, I leave the averaging on. I enable the averaging. In the spectral display, I like averaging off now. So we'll change the FFT to 2, which is fine. This is the way I like it. And in the upper and lower sideband, the skirts here are a little bit tight for me. I like a little bit more low end, and I left click and I drag this to the left, and I believe I bring it to 97 or 92. Let me just see. 94, that's where I like it. Now I'll go to upper sideband and I'll change that also. Okay, let's see if we can hear a signal, and then I'll go into the EXTIO settings for the RSP1A.
Withdrew a challenge of Prime Minister Stalin's statement that there were.
All right, the automatic, you have your noise reduction here. You have your noise blanket here in the RF domain, the IF domain, automatic frequency control, mute, your AGC, which I usually keep on medium, your notch, and your automatic notch. We can go over that in detail in another video. So let's go into the EXTIO for the RSP1A. Your LNA control here, your IF gain control here, and if you want to have the AGC enabled or disabled, your broadcast notch filters for medium wave, FM and DAB. Frequency correction, we don't have to change that here because we already calibrated the RSP earlier off WWV. Your IF mode, 0 IF or low IF, your IF bandwidths, your sample rate, and if you want to decimate. Now here's the set point. You can change this setting, and it's going to tell the RSP when to adjust this gain control here. So let's change the set point, and let's see if the gain control adjusts. See how it's adjusting? So you can set that set point. I forgot what the default was just that, but I like negative 30 is good. Your bias T function is here. You can enable or disable profiles. So if you are listening to HF and you have settings specific for HF, save the profile. If you have settings specific to UHF, VHF, make profiles for them and change these to however you like them. And you can pull them up by clicking the P1, P2. You also have your ello plan, tuner DC offset compensation, and if you want to enable the tuner DC IQ compensation. That's why we didn't see the DC spike before, because this was enabled here. So I like to keep this disabled, and let's see if I can show you again that DC spike and how it's removed. Let's go to a dead area, go to options, calibrate, and we'll disable HDSDR's spike removal. Alright, there's the spike. I couldn't get that up before, my apology. Alright, let's enable it in the EXTIO, and it disappeared. Let's enable it in HDSDR. Also disappeared. Does not matter. I prefer, you can use whichever one you want. I suggest you don't run them both, one or the other. I like using HDSDR's DC removal. Alright, let's see what else we have in the EXTIO. Alright, we have that part done. And that is basically it. Alright, let's check the bands. Let's see what's going on. We'll check 31 meters. My favorite band.
Of course, all the stem cell works, brain cell works, pet cell works. Why must I go near there?
Because of the fire.
What fire?
The one that will break out at 8 o'clock tonight.
Not much action. And we have a little sneak signal right there. Let's see what that is. Oh, that is the Air Force. This is an EAM, Emergency Action Message. Let's check this out. And they should also be broadcasting on 11175, I believe. Let's see if they're simulcasting. So 11175. Very weak. I should have them in my frequency list. We could check them all. Now I'm sure I'm going to get a request from my frequency list. Leave your email address in the comment and I will mail you my personal frequency list. No problem. If I can find where the Air Force is in here. I have so many frequencies. Here it is. Alright. Now they simulcast on all these frequencies. This is an emergency action message, and most of the time it's a airplane that's flying over. I think they're up there 24/7, and if something was to hit the fan, these guys are ready to launch missiles. Alright, let's check all the frequencies. And there's multiple relay stations all throughout the United States. Just Google EAM, Echo Alpha Mike, and you can get all the information on these EAM messages. Yeah, the best one was on 4724.
Victor. Playback. Uniform. 5. Juliet.
And that's basically it. The next let me mute this. The next HDSDR video, I'll go over HDSDR profiles. If you have multiple RSPs and you want to have different settings for each SDR within HDSDR, you can separate those settings. And we'll tune about. I mean, HDSDR was the very first front end that I got started on a long time ago, and just a quick shout out to Mario and LC. These guys have really taken this to the next level. I was a huge fan of HDSDR, still am. I think it's a great software package, and what these guys have done for the community, and having this front end free, it's unbelievable. So as I said earlier, big thank you to those two, Mario and LC, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this one was helpful. There will be others. All right, 7-3.